Hi, this is 100 and 100, where we review 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we're looking at Cosmic Trip. Cosmic Trip is a twist on a strategy game where you are commanding an army of robots that you need to build from scratch. You fight alongside the robots, you deploy them to attack the alien heart, and your job is to take out the enemy through strategy. We had a lot of fun playing Cosmic Trip. There's a lot going on with this game, and we're excited to review it with you today. In our VR Gear game reviews, we like to cover as many aspects of the game as possible so you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. We're going to start out with how to get up and running with Cosmic Trip and where you can buy it. Cosmic Trip sells for $19.99 on the Steam Store and the Oculus Store, and it's also part of the Viveport Infinity subscription. You won't find Cosmic Trip on the PS VR Store, so you'll need one of these other platforms to play this game. The download file is about 700 megabytes in size and will download pretty quickly and install automatically and be ready to play in no time at all. Once you get into the main menu, you then pick your game mode, whether you want to do chill, strategy, or waterfall. You get to pick different game modes to experience Cosmic Trip. We jumped into the strategy and tried our hand at deploying robots to attack the enemy heart. And we did all right. But this game was definitely a unique twist on a strategy game. You'll play this game from the first-person perspective, and all you'll see is your controllers. You won't see hands, arms, or legs in this game when you're playing. You'll just see these really interesting controllers that have some resemblance to VR controllers that we have in reality, but they are enhanced with certain abilities that come as part of Cosmic Trip. But that's how you'll play the game. You are at a command center, but you're also in the middle of the battle at sometimes. You are collecting resources, you are building robots, you're deploying robots, and you're also fighting the enemy from your command center position. There's a lot of moving around with your hands, there's a lot of interacting with the environment you're in, moving discs, pushing buttons, deploying robots, throwing them, fighting. There's a lot going on here, and you're playing all of these from a standing position, first-person perspective, at the center of all the action. The theme of this game is alien strategy tactics, meaning you're on an alien planet and you need to deploy your robots with just the right strategy to take out the alien heart, which is a lot like games that you might be familiar with, like Warcraft, Starcraft, etc. So the theme of this one is strategy tactics, using the materials you collect and the resources that you build, including the robot army that you're generating from these raw materials, deploying them to help you become victorious over the enemy alien race. As far as the story goes, there is no narrative to this, but the narrative is what you make it as you deploy your strategy to fight off the enemy. It was a lot of fun to interact with this, and there's a lot of things that we could have done differently, and we wanted to go back and try again, because the sequencing and the timing and when you deploy your robots versus if you want to build up a reserve of them and send them all at once, these types of things are part of gameplay, and it makes the game different every time you play it. For controls, there's a lot going on in this game, and sometimes we want more simplistic controls, but in a situation where you're sitting at the command center and there's a lot of options that you have in front of you to deploy enemies, create new resources, gather materials, or attack the enemy, there needs to be a lot of different controller inputs, and so this game doesn't disappoint. The trigger fires the weapon in your hand or engages whatever item you have in your hand if it's not a weapon. The touchpad will then help you switch the item that's in your hand. B opens your inventory and allows you to add to that inventory, and A shows you the map. The map is going to also show you where the enemy is located so that you can deploy your robots to go and attack. But the controller mapping was absolutely appropriate for this type of game, and we felt that it was really easy to get the hang of it. We were able to swap items in and out of the inventory, switch the weapon in our hands, and view the map and deploy our military robots as we wanted to. And that allowed for us to get good at the game quicker than if the controllers were more difficult to map and more difficult to engage with. For music and sound, this game is really amazing. All of the sounds seemed to be completely custom made for this game specifically. I don't think you'll find any of the sounds that are in the game anywhere else in the world or in your own personal experience. Unless you spend a lot of time in VR, specifically in Cosmic Trip, you won't find these sounds anywhere else, which adds a lot to the experience. Spatial audio was done well, you can hear things from the direction that you'll see them, and the sound effects as you interact with the environment were very, very well mapped, and it made the game super immersive. We had a great time engaging with this game because the audio was so rich and satisfying. For player movement, you'll be playing the game from a standing or sitting position, and in VR, you'll also be in a standing or sitting position wherever your command center is. Your job in the game, of course, is to create new resources out of the raw materials and deploy them, and you don't need to move anywhere to do that. However, when enemies do come toward your base, you need to fight them off alongside the robots, and so you'll be pivoting from left to right, but you won't be moving around in the world. You'll be stationary, so you will only need to be moving from left to right. This minimizes the possibility of becoming motion sick in this game, which we hate motion sickness, and we love games that don't cause it. So, as far as motion sickness goes, there wasn't any, and we love that. The game was very engaging, there's a lot of action, but there was no motion sickness. This is a great example of how VR should be done when it comes to sensitivity to motion sickness, and game developers should pay close attention to these things because it is a great way to get newcomers to VR hooked on VR. The game did not have any motion sickness. You were stationary while playing, you would pivot from left to right, look up and down, but that was it. The world came to you instead of you moving through it at a rapid pace or teleporting or jumping or turning or any of the things that cause motion sickness in a lot of the other games that we look at. So motion sickness, developers did a great job here. For environment and immersion, this game gets really great marks for having a very interactive environment. When you look off into the distance or the horizon, there's not much to see, but that's okay because there's so many things that you can do with all of the items that are up close, including the things that you deploy far away, but you'll interact with those through the map. Overall, the environment was very engaging. You were constantly trying to move the needle forward as you were working through your strategy to overcome the enemy. As a result, you felt very immersed, very present, and you wanted to continue in the game. That, combined with no motion sickness, results in you being able to spend a large amount of time in this game without having to stop or without feeling sick. And that's what everyone wants. They want these experiences to be outstanding, and to do that, you need to be sensitive to what people want. They want to stay there and they don't want to be sick. And this game really does a great job with an engaging environment and low impact on motion sickness. All right, so let's look at the overall scorecard for Cosmic Trip, starting with theme and story. We're giving this game a 7 out of 10 for theme and story. The theme was really great, and a strategy game like this being implemented just the way the developers did is fantastic, and we'd love to see more of it. However, we would also like to see something like maybe an intro trailer to the game that tells you a little bit more about who you are, what you're doing, why you're on this planet, and those sorts of things, so that you're even more immersed in the game, giving you sort of a relationship with the character that you're playing. But game was great overall for theme and story, and a 7 out of 10. For controls in this game, there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of opportunities to fail, but we're giving this game an 8 out of 10, which is a really high score for controls. The mappings were great, and pretty obvious that they should be mapped this way, but a lot of times developers get it wrong. Developers of this game did not get it wrong, and the controls were really easy to use and easy to get used to, and using them during gameplay was very natural, so an 8 out of 10 for controls. For music and sound, we're giving this game another high score of 8 out of 10. There wasn't a lot of music going on, but the custom sounds that were developed specifically for this VR experience were absolutely phenomenal. And so we're giving this game an 8 out of 10, even though there's no music here, 8 out of 10 for music and sound. For player movement, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. This game did a really great job with implementing the stationary command center type VR game, and we felt that it was really great for strategy games like this one. However, a few points are deducted because of the difficulty with engaging with items that are just outside of your reach or just beyond the guardian in your physical space. Those moments are very difficult, and very few game developers have solved this, if any, and so 7 out of 10 for player movement. For motion sickness, this game is getting a very high score of a 9 out of 10, almost perfect. This game does not give you motion sickness at all unless you're very far into the game and there is so much going on that you're whipping your head back and forth, up and down, trying to figure out how to engage with your console, deploy your robots, fight the enemy, and just protect your home base. When that happens, you're moving quite a bit, pivoting, looking up and down and left and right. Those types of intense moments can cause some motion sickness, but those are very rare. And so this game gets a near perfect score of a 9 out of 10 for motion sickness. For environment and immersion, we're giving this game an 8 out of 10. We really felt good in this game. The environment was convincing. Although far away things weren't clear to see, that's fine. There was so much going on right next to you, and there was so much strategy that you got to engage with in different ways that this game's environment and the amount that you felt immersed were second to none. So an 8 out of 10 for environment and immersion. The overall score for Cosmic Trip VR is a 7.8 out of 10. This is a very high score on the VR Gear game review, and we thought that Cosmic Trip was a great game, and we recommend that you go try it out. It's $19.99 on the Steam Store and the Oculus Store, and it's free as part of your Viaport Infinity subscription. This has been 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you can receive a notification tomorrow when we release another VR game review. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.